All right, welcome to our quick revision explanator on homeostasis. Now, this is a huge topic in your GCSE biology. We're talking section 4.5.1 on the AQA spec, and trust me, getting your head around this is absolutely essential if you're aiming for those top marks. So, let's break it all down. Okay, so we're going to tackle this in 5 simple steps. We'll start with why our body even needs to stay balanced in the first place. Then we'll get into what homeostasis actually is and check out the super clever automatic systems that control it all. After that, we'll use body temperature as a perfect case study. And to finish up, I'll give you the absolute key takeaways you've got to know for that exam. Sound good? Let's dive in. Okay, so let's start with the really basic problem your body is solving, like every single second of every day. Just think about it, right? 1 minute you could be sprinting for the bus, and the next you're sitting in a totally freezing classroom. Your body's just constantly being bombarded with changes from the outside world and from what you're doing. So it desperately needs a way to keep everything on the inside nice and stable, nice and consistent. And that leads to a really good question, doesn't it? I mean, what's all the fuss about? If it's, say, 10 degrees outside, why can't our cells just, chill out and work at 10 degrees? Well, the answer to that really gets to the very heart of how life itself is even possible. And here it is. It all comes down to one thing: enzymes. You see, every single chemical reaction that's keeping you alive right now is controlled by these little guys. And let me tell you, enzymes are incredibly fussy. They only work properly at a perfect, stable temperature and pH. If your insides get too hot or too cold or too acidic, well, your enzymes start to change shape. The word for that is denature. And when that happens, all those vital reactions just grind to a halt. And that, as you can imagine, is seriously life-threatening. So the big question is, how does the body solve this massive problem? Well, it has this incredibly clever, continuous process for managing this internal balance. And it has a name you absolutely 100% must know for your exam. And that name is homeostasis. Now, this is the official definition, straight from the AQA specification. My advice? Learn it, like word for word. Homeostasis is the regulation of the internal conditions of a cell or organism to maintain optimum conditions for function. It's a bit of a mouthful, but in simple terms, it's just about keeping things just right on the inside, so your cells, and especially those super fussy enzymes, can do their jobs properly. And for your exam, you really need to know the 3 main things that homeostasis keeps in check. First, there's your blood glucose concentration. That's all about energy. Then you've got that all-important body temperature we've been talking about. And finally, water levels. And trust me, you do not want to get your water levels wrong. Your cells could literally burst or shrivel up. So how on earth does the body actually pull all this off? Well, it uses something called automatic control systems. And the really brilliant part? You don't have to think about any of it. It's all just happening. Constantly running in the background, making thousands of tiny little adjustments to keep you alive. The absolute best way to get your head around this is to think about the thermostat in your house. It's a perfect analogy. You set it to that perfect temperature, right? And if the room gets too cold, boom, the heating kicks in automatically. If it gets too warm, the heating switches off. Your body is doing exactly the same thing, just with a much, much more sophisticated system for your temperature, your water levels, your glucose, and everything else. Okay, so the proper scientific name for this process is a negative feedback loop. Let's just walk through it together. First, you get a stimulus. That's just any change that pushes things away from the normal level. Then a receptor, a special type of cell, detects that change. It's like a little sensor. This sensor sends an alert to a coordination center, which is usually your brain or spinal cord. The brain figures out what's gone wrong and sends out an instruction to an effector. Now, here's a key point. An effector is always a muscle or a gland. Its job is to carry out the response, the thing that brings everything back to normal. So it's this constant cycle: detect, decide, and correct. All right, pay close attention to this slide, because it zooms right in on the key players you have to be able to define. Think of them as the 3 main characters in this story. First, you have the receptor. That's your detector. Then, the coordination center. That's the boss, the decision maker. And finally, the effector. And remember what I said, it's always a muscle or a gland. The effector is the doer, the one that actually makes the change happen. Okay, that's the theory. Now let's take that abstract model and see how it works with a real-life example, one that AQA examiners absolutely love to ask about: controlling body temperature. And this slide shows that negative feedback loop perfectly. Let's start with the too high side. Your receptors detect that your blood is too warm. The coordination center, your brain, triggers a response. So, what are the effectors? In this case, it's your sweat glands. They produce sweat, which cools your skin down. Okay, now let's look at the too low side. Receptors detect your blood is getting a bit chilly. Again, the brain triggers a response, but this time it sends a message to different effectors, your muscles. They start to contract and relax super fast. In other words, you shiver, and that generates heat. See? Two opposite problems, two clever, targeted solutions, all happening without you even thinking about it. All right, we have covered a lot of ground, so let's boil it all down to the absolute must-know, non-negotiable facts you need to take into that exam. Seriously, if you only take one single thing away from this whole explainer, make it these 4 definitions. They are the absolute foundation of this entire topic. You have got to be able to write these out from memory, perfectly, without even hesitating. And hey, if you're in any doubt about how important this is, just look at this quote. We've taken this directly from the AQA specification. It says, all control systems include cells called receptors, which detect stimuli, coordination centers, and effectors, which bring about responses. They are literally telling you what they want you to know. It's like they're giving you the answers. So please learn that sequence. So, to finish up, I just want to leave you with this one question. We've spent this whole time talking about how these amazing systems maintain a perfect balance. But what happens when one of them fails? Think about it. If the control system for your blood glucose breaks down, what do you get? You get a condition like diabetes. And that is why homeostasis is such a vital topic. It doesn't just explain how things work when they're going right, it's also the key to understanding major diseases and what happens when things go very, very wrong.